at the Renaissance Center, the ground floor where Jimmy Hoffa was buried. That's the exit doors where the cement truck came in, had to bury him. And the burgundy 1975 Mercury Marquise on July 30th, 1975. Getting ready to go inside here now to where Hoffa's buried at. Now, right here, I'm standing directly on top of Hoffa's grave. Right here.
The night wore a suit of shadow black. Detroit's heart beats slow. No turning back. A whisper danced through the alley's breath. Secrets pave the road to death. Jimmy's gone, gone into the night. Swallowed whole by the city's bite. Where he rests, only ghosts will know. Buried secrets beneath the snow.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for checking out American Made. Today, we have a guest that has a very interesting story that could possibly answer a lot of questions when it comes to the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. My guest went on to have a career as a corrections officer, which in itself is an interesting line of work. I'm glad to have him here on the channel to talk with me. My guest is Michael Yarbrough. Michael, how are you doing, man?
Pretty good, Jesse. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to have you here. We just passed the 50th anniversary of the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. So I'm glad to have you here to talk with me a little bit about all this. I want to get into your story, but before we get there, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and that sort of thing, and then we'll get going into your story.
Yeah, Jesse. I'm Michael Edward Yarbrough. I'm from Benton Harbor, Michigan, on Lake Michigan. That's Southwest Michigan, down about an hour and 15 minutes from Chicago. Born and raised in Benton Harbor, and I graduated that year in 1975 of June. And July rolled around. I had my 18th birthday on July the 10th, and my oldest son, had his birthday on July the 15th. So while I was preparing to go away to Fair State College, well, it's Fair State University now, down in Big Rapids, Michigan, up north of Grand Rapids, Michigan. My sister called me and she said, "Hey, Mike, you just had your son, why don't you weigh the odds and put your priorities in the proper perspective and, take care of your responsibilities, versus going in your education right now." So I said, okay, sis. So I got my 1970 Monster Green Firebird Pontiac, same color as Jimmy Hoffa's car. And I shot down I-94 going east on 94. And I ended up in Inkster, Michigan, which is 20 minutes west of Detroit, where my oldest brother and his wife was living. And my sister, she was visiting from Bears. She had another year to go before she graduated. But I met her at my brother's house, my oldest brother's house. And while I was at his house, the news popped on about jobs at the Renaissance Center. It was construction going on at the Renaissance Center, phase 1 and phase 2. And they were finished with phase 1 of the building so they could invite the public in to fill out all these job applications that Mayor Coleman Young at the time wanted to fill all these positions so they could have a grand opening, bicentennial ribbon cutting, period of 1776 and 1976. Mm-hmm. So he wanted everybody, all the job positions to be filled, but before 1976, which ironically was the same year Hoffa wanted to become Teamster Union president again. So I shot down to Detroit downtown to the Renaissance Center. I parked in the complete parking structure at the it was called the Westin Hotel at the time, but now it's called the Marriott, over on Atwater Street, where the Canadian Tunnel is at. The only tunnel in America, I believe, that goes to Canada. Anyway, I pulled into the parking structure. It was very accessible back then. You could pull in the parking lot, open the door, go in the building, go shopping, go to the movies, throw money in a in the waterfall, make a wish. It was a complete mall in the building. It still is, really. But shopping center on 2 or 3 floors, restaurants, McDonald's, Burger King, all that, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, all of that was complete to the public. So I went to the first floor and I saw a security guard at the desk, and I asked him, "Hey, where's Clean America?" which is a temporary employment agency that hires, for jobs. I was looking for a security guard job at the time. And he said, "Well, go down the escalators and make a right. Go down to the ground floor and make a right down the escalator." So I went down the escalators to the ground floor, and something told me to make a left. So I made a left, and that took me through Tower 200. And I kept going. It was empty, a lot of office space and stuff. McDonald's and all that was over there. So I kept going around. It's like a circular motion in the building, a round circle. So I kept going to my southeast of the building, and it took me to this construction area where there was this 15 to 20 foot tall plastic hanging up, the kind you can't see through, but you can hear through it. And up above that was some yellow cords hanging, a lot of them, thousands of cords with lights. And to my right, I saw this 3 or 4 inch rubber mat going up toward the wall. And at the back of that rubber mat was a sign saying authorized personnel only, do not enter. She had a hard hat, safety glasses, and steel toe shoes. So while I was standing there, I started hearing somebody scream loud for help, real loud. So I said, wow, I just got out of high school, I said, well, maybe it's a construction worker, maybe I can go in there and help him, Right. So while I was standing there reading the sign saying, do not enter, authorized personnel only, I said, wow, I know I ain't supposed to go in here, but I hear somebody screaming for help. So I opened the door, and as I opened that door, it was a concrete cement ramp going all the way down to the basement level, below the ground level. And when I got down there, I hurt my back because it was so steep. I hurt my back going down that ramp. So I ended up running down the ramp. When I got down there, it was dirt everywhere, dust, construction area, and it was this 8-foot wooden fence all around these great big 2 pillars that was being constructed. So the fence had to be about 8 feet because I'm 6'5", so I had to tiptoe a little bit to try to see what was over the fence. And there was a bunch of wheelbarrows and stuff down there, and these 2 great big pillars that were shooting straight up in the air, maybe about 15, 20 feet up in the air. They were about as wide as a above ground swimming pool in your backyard, but they were like 8 feet, 4 tiers in each pillar. It was 2 pillars with 3 tiers already cured with concrete, and the 4th tier was empty. And then as I looked up, the man was still screaming for help, loud. And I saw these 2 men holding this guy in the middle. He was shorter than them. He had black pants on, black shirt. And the 2 guys that was holding him had black suits on, black tie, white shirt, black shoes, and these John Belushi style shades that I have on right here. And they was holding him by the arm. And to their left was a construction worker. He was hammering on the concrete, trying to drown him out. But I'm looking right at him. He's screaming for help. He was hammering on the concrete. And as I looked behind them, I saw a concrete cement truck with his gurney down from the front, coming all the way down the side, all the way to that hole. And the ball was turning real, real, real slow. And directly behind them was this 1975 green-colored Mercury Marquise, trunk up and his lights on. And on the driver's side, the door was partially open, and there was this fat, chubby guy sitting behind the wheel. And he had these sideburns. I could see his sideburns, and I could see his wide collar shirt, the collar shirt, the kind we used to wear back in the 70s. And while I was looking at all of this, these two guys in these black suits pushed the man real fast over in the hole. The ball on the cement truck started turning real fast, and I could see this concrete cement gushing down on top of him. And while I was standing there looking at this, I said to myself, wow, you know. Then I looked to my right, and there was this third person, which I found that these three people with these suits on were a mob. He had the same identical black suit on, the same John Belushi style shades, the same white shirt, black tie, black shoes. He walks up to me, man. He pointed at me, took his John Belushi shades off, and looked me dead in my eyes. He had hazel eyes. You could see he had killed several people, man. It scared the hell out of me. But anyway, he pointed at me and said, "You better keep moving. You're going to be next." So I threw my hands up in the air. I said, "Man, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm out of here." So he opened his coat and showed me his gun. He had a shoulder strap type gun strap on it under his coat. And after I threw my hands up and said, "I'm out of here, man," I walked away about 10, 15 feet going toward Tower 400. And I looked over my shoulder, and here he comes, full force at me, chasing me. So he couldn't catch me because I had just got out of high school, running track, cross country. He couldn't catch me. I had my green Chuck Taylor All-Stars on. And, you know, that's what we was wearing back then, Chuck Taylor, right. You know. And I saw this men and women's restroom sign when I got to Tower 400 at the Western End. And I ran in the men's restroom. I got on top of the first stall. It was 12 stalls back then. It ain't before in there now. They done reconstructed everything. But I got on the first stall. I got up on top of the toilet. I was shaking like Don Knotts, peeing on myself, man. I had my brand new Levi's on, my Harley Davidson t-shirt on. You know, I had my Jerry curl. We were wearing Jerry curls back then. My shade. And I looked down, I peed on myself. I was scared, man. And I looked under. They got like this 3 or 4 inch area under each toilet stall where you can see under there. So I saw his black shoes walk into the door. And he just stood there like 3 seconds, turned around and just walked away. Now I know he was gonna just kick the door in and kill me right then, right? He showed me his gun. He turned around, walked away. So I said, "Wow, man, I didn't know what to do. I'm standing here like, should I go out and see if he's still out there?" So my mind just told me to go ahead, go on out there and see. So I went out there, looked in the hallway, I looked to my left, I looked to my right. I didn't see him. So that was a good thing. So then I saw this door way down to my left. I went down to that door, opened the door. And when I opened the door, I saw the area where the concrete cement truck was, where the maroon colored car was. And I saw the cement poured on top of this guy. But I didn't see the maroon colored car anymore. So I ran back out into the building over the Tower 400 by the Canadian Tunnel outside. I looked to my left, and here come this maroon colored car around Tower 400 real slow with its lights on. Come to find out that driver was Chucky O'Brien, and the mobster that came up to me and threatened me to keep moving or I was going to be next. I found out later that I was Thomas Andretta, Genevieve's crime family associate from New Jersey that tried to kill me. So I ran back in the building from Atwater over by the Canadian Tunnel. I went back in the building, ran to Tower 100, got up on the toilet again because I was scared. Stayed there about 10 minutes, and then I came out, tried to find my car. I couldn't remember where I parked my car because the building was so huge. I finally walked up on my car in the parking structure. I got back in my 1970 Firebird Pontiac, and I drove back down to Inkster about 15, 20 minutes. And I told my sister and my brother and his wife what I just saw. I said, "Y'all ain't gonna believe this, man. It was crazy, man. I just saw a guy get buried down at the Renaissance Center in this big hole." They said, "Mike, I were you, I'd leave that alone, man. That's the mob, man. They'll kill you and our whole family.
Mm.
So I didn't know nothing about the mob. I ain't know nothing about the Teamsters, man. I had just graduated out of high school. I was just a kid. So I said, okay, then. Well, the next morning, I had spent the night to the 31st. I woke up the next morning, and they had this great big news flash on Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7 here locally that Jimmy Hoffa, former Teamster Union president, is missing. So I said, wow, that's the guy I just seen get pushed in the hole yesterday. Yes, again, they said, Mike, leave that alone, man. It kill you and the whole family, man. And one officer, I told him, one of my good friends I went to church with, two of them are retired state troopers now. I had told them about it, and they told me the same exact thing. You know, they said, Mike, if I were you, I'd leave that alone, man. I hate to read about you floating down the Detroit River head first. I'm thinking about me being a retired corrections officer, all of us working for the state of Michigan, graduated in the same state police academy, that they were on the same page I was to try to help find this guy. But no, they telling me, leave it alone because it's bigger than the both of us, man. They said, this is bigger than the both of us, man. Leave it alone. So for 27 years, after I had done accumulated 4 years of college and graduated in criminal justice, 17 years total with the state of Michigan in corrections, Department of Corrections in Michigan, I decided I'd try to pursue the matter 27 years later. After being quiet about it, I came to the FBI in Detroit in November of 2002. And I sat down, I talked to two agents, I drew a map, I gave them the wrong information at first. I told them it was Tower 400. Because the building is so big, I got confused as to which tower was what, because it's in a circle of motion. But as I kept visiting the area and I got thinking, I said, wow, that was phase two. In phase two, they were under heavy construction. They was building Tower 300, Tower 500, and Tower 600. And Tower 300 is the last big tower in that main center part that was not finished yet. That's where they buried him at. Tower 500, 600 were the two smaller towers on the east side of the building. So I went to the FBI, I sit down, I talked to two agents, I gave them the wrong information. I drew the correct picture of what I saw, but I guess they figured I didn't know what I was talking about or something. They ignored me. So I went back down there again, I talked to two agents, and I went back down there for 2 or 3 more times and talked to two agents and tried to tell them the correct information. And they threatened me and told me if I come back down there again, they was gonna lock me up. I said, lock me up for what? Reporting a murder? So I didn't go back down. I haven't been back down there anymore. I sent letters down there. They probably threw them in the trash and everything. But, like, again, by us being in law enforcement, I thought they would be on my side, especially in something as critical as something like this.
Right.
They don't really feel like my information is credible enough. So I went to Channel 4 News. I talked to Steve Garagiola. His father is an ex National League baseball player. They're pretty predominantly rich. But anyway, he's retired with Channel 4 News. So he swooped down, and I was trying to be on his podcast on Channel 4. And he told me he couldn't put me on there unless I took a lie detector test. So he swooped down on me, picked me up, took me to Saginaw, Michigan, to the Michigan State Police. I took the polygraph. It came out inconclusive. So that means that they don't know if I was lying or telling the truth, I guess. But he told me I could take it at any time again. So I talked to Michael Francis. He's an ex-Colombo crime family boss. And he said that he feels like the information I gave him kind of fit with the information that he has. So Mike came down here. He went to the FBI, gave him his information, and let them compare it with what I had, and I guess, and he was hoping to try to bring some closure to the Hoffa family and the Yarbrough family. And that was like 3 years ago.
Right.
Fox News came down from New York. Eric Sean riddled a search for James R. Hoffa. He came down, walked him through the building. We did an interview live. I'm on Riddle to search for James R. Hoffa. History Channel contacted me, and I'm on the History Channel about the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa, and I'm on 1,000 podcasts, and this is another one.
Right.
Thank you for letting me be on here.
Yes, sir.
But like I say, I don't understand why they jumping all over these high hurdles and hoops, trying to go to tear down a baseball diamond, a football diamond, a dig swimming pools, and go to golf courses in Georgia and dig up golf courses, and go to Wisconsin and dig up baseball diamonds. Every time they've done this, I called the FBI in advance and I told them they were wasting their time, energy, and resources, and they did it anyway. The dig in New Jersey, the Picado's, what is that? Moscato's dump. I told them. And they tore up the floorboards in their house on Beverly Court. I told them they didn't even stop at a house. The only house they stopped at when they left the Marcus Red Fox that day was the Raleigh House in Southfield, Michigan. They pulled behind there, and I believe that's where they put Hoffa in the trunk because they were struggling with him in the back seat.
Yeah.
And they completed down from Telegraph Road south to Grand River Avenue south, straight to the Renaissance Center. It was only like 23 and a half minutes from
Right.
Bloomfield Township to downtown Detroit. All
Yeah.
that stuff I heard about, he's been shot in the head, he's been hit with a shovel, all that's lies. He was not hurt at all. When I saw him, when the two guys were holding him by the arms, he didn't have any injuries on him at all. He was just screaming for help, real loud.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Was he, when you saw him, was he putting up any type of fight or anything, or he was just standing there?
He was just standing there. That's weird, ain't it? They had him by both arms. So
Did he appear to have been, beat up or anything like that?
He didn't look beat up or nothing. His hair was kind of messed up, but he looked like he hadn't been. It looked like a struggle. He had been struggling.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any sign of hurt. He was not shot. He was not. He might have been beat up a little bit or choked a little bit while he was in the car, but
yeah,
he was scared for life, man. I'm telling you, he was scared for life. And the only law enforcement that I've had go in this building to do any type of search is the Michigan State Police. I took them in there, detective with the Michigan State Police in 2018, December the 4th. We did a complete walkthrough of what happened with GPS and camera. And 6 months later, somebody down at the FBI Detroit called him and told him to cease and desist because it wasn't his jurisdiction. I said, what? Now, Michigan State Police been on this crime since July the 30th, 1975. Okay. Right. I called down to the post down in Detroit, Michigan State Police, and they told me they don't even have a missing person file for Jimmy Hoffa. I said, what? So to me, it's something strange going on here. The agent that's over the Hoffa Task Force in Detroit, I've been communicating with him for many, many years. He said, Mike, you've been calling my phone for 30 times a month. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, what do I want you to do? I want you to go in there and do a ground penetration scan and drill in this pillar and get some DNA, and get somebody in that car to do some more high-tech DNA to discover who all was in that car that day. Because apparently y'all scared to tell everybody that Thomas Andretta was involved in this case. You got Chucky O'Brien's DNA, you got Hoffa's DNA, but I'm telling you that a guy was down there to chase me and everything, and he may have been in that car too. Thomas Andretta, he's dead now, since 2019. And his brother Stephen Andretta is dead, but the guys that was holding Hoffa was much taller than him. I would say it was about 6'1", 6'2". I know he's about 5'5". So they were towering over him, and they were young men, young white males, about in late 30s, early 40s. I'm looking right at them. I couldn't tell who they were because they had these dark shades on, but I could see their face and their youth,
Yeah. Well, these guys that were there, Hoffa included, I mean, at the time, you had no idea who he was at the time, right? Only later you found out.
Yeah, later I found out either the same day, that evening when I left there, when they had that breaking news flash on TV saying he was missing. They popped his big picture on the TV on all three channels, local channel, news channels. And it was plain and clear that that was the guy I saw in the middle that was screaming for help. I might forget a name. I don't forget no face.
Yeah.
And I identified Chucky O'Brien's face and Thomas Andretta's face. I was looking through a mob book one day in 2017 at the library. Scott Bernstein had wrote. And as I was turning the pages, that's when I identified Thomas Andretta and Chucky O'Brien in his book. Other than that, I didn't know who these people were. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So you said when you got back, you told some family members about what about what you saw, and then kind of kept it quiet for several years. After all those years went by, what made you decide to go public with this information?
Well, I had retired from the Department of Corrections. I felt like it was time. I kept hearing so many theories of people, all these little fake theories. I'm like, the more I heard them, the madder I was getting. I'm saying, well, wow, when is somebody gonna come forth that saw this other than me? I was hoping somebody else would come forth first. But since nobody came forth in 27 years, I decided I'd just go down there and tell the FBI what I know. And when I went down there, I thought by us all being in law enforcement, there wouldn't be a problem. I'm thinking we're going to immediately solve this case. It's been 23 years, man, since I went down there in November of 2002, and they still haven't done anything.
You would think that you being a corrections officer and involved in law enforcement, that brings a little bit of credibility to your story, and at least they would, check out your story,
Right. I know the law, man. I've studied criminal justice. I graduated 4 years at University of Phoenix. I worked in the juvenile center 4 years, Barron County 5th District Court in St. Joseph, Michigan, right across the bridge from Benton Harbor. I don't understand what's the problem. I don't know. I can't say it's a racial thing, but I mean, who knows? I think what I think it is that somebody done paid these people off to keep it under the rug. Basically, they don't want to find him for some odd reason.
Yeah, that is curious. That it seems like these agencies don't really want to officially solve this case. Hey,
they don't. I'm the only person that I know of, Jess, that came forth. That's an eye-ear witness. I don't care how many times you flip the pages out there. Ain't nobody gonna tell you a story like mine. Like they was actually standing there, seeing this person get killed, and was almost threatened to be killed themselves. I don't think you'll find that nowhere out there similar to mine, unless they were actually there at the scene like I was, in that circle of people that was there. I found out that the truck driver who was driving the cement truck, I ran into his son about 15 years ago. He told me that was his dad that was pouring the concrete cement on top of Hoffa, and they killed him. They killed his daddy, I guess, because they didn't want him to talk.
Yeah.
But they killed him. And they also killed my brother-in-law. The Teamsters killed my brother-in-law in 1980. He had his own trucking firm, and he didn't want to merge with the Teamsters. So they killed him too. So it was getting kind of close to home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I wonder if you would be able to, look into what contractors were actually pouring cement on that job.
Well, I haven't got better information than that. It's been fact checked that the Michigan State Police have put out in 1984 that construction zone that Hoffa was buried in was 100% controlled by the mob. And when I went down to the city county building back in I think 2006, 2007, I saw this big map it was the blueprint of the basement area of Tower 300. And on the corner of that map, it had Turner Construction on it. And I think you can Google that on the Renaissance Center. You can even see where it says Turner Construction. They were the ones who poured the concrete cement. But I believe the mob told them to leave that day and to use their own concrete cement truck, because I think they told everybody to leave the area, period, and don't come back to the next day. Because when I went
Right.
down there, Jesse, it wasn't hardly nobody down there. It was only the three mobsters in the black suits, Hoffa, Chucky O'Brien behind the wheel, the cement truck driver, and the guy that was hammering on the concrete cement trying to drown him out, and me. So that's only, 7 people in the whole area, this basement area that they were constructing. Now that was kind of weird. I mean, wasn't
Yeah.
nobody there but them, but 100% controlled by the mob. That's a fact check by the Michigan State Police, 1984.
I think I heard you speak before on another video saying you were trying to get some type of ground penetrating radar to go in there, because that would be able to answer that question, if something's down there or not.
Right. I also got a guy that does forensics. He's working on the John Benet Ramsey case right now as we speak. And I'm trying to get him in there along with the media, take pictures of the original car that was involved and to do some more forensic science in the car, find out who all was in that car, as well as I got a ground penetration crew that's willing to go in already. I took them in there and I showed them the platform and everything to set up their equipment. And I got a drill crew that's willing to go in there to drill for DNA. And so it's going to cost about $2,300, but I'm sure we come up with that soon. But right now I'm trying to get law enforcement to back me so we can get in the building, and it's looking pretty good so far. I'm waiting on hear from 2 departments that's willing to back me and willing to contact Dan Gilbert, who owns the building now. General Motors moved out into one of his new buildings, Hudson Tower down the street. So the Renaissance Center is owned by Dan Gilbert. Now he's one of the billionaires in Detroit, buying up a lot of property.
Yeah. Now, a minute ago, you mentioned Eric Shawn at Fox News, and I know he's got that series that he does. You and him actually did a walkthrough and found a possible piece of evidence. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of that too. The evidence that we found was a hard hat encased in the concrete cement, right where Hoffa's buried at in the pillar. Now, I got a close look of that hard hat about a week ago. I did a TV show in there, Orion on TV. That podcast is out as well. It's got over 200-some thousand hits already. But they zoomed in on the logo on the hard hat, and it looks like a Red Cross, Red Cross symbol. But as I looked in the middle of it, it had AB written on the inside of it in red or blue, one color. And I Googled that, and that stands for alligator bait. And back then, as I can remember, a lot of construction workers used to, use that AB as a symbol to let them know that it's danger over here about the water and stuff like that. Alligator bait. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That was a popular thing going on back then with construction workers. As you look at the video on the Orion on TV construction, you'll see a black guy in there pulling some cranes in the video, and you'll see AB on the back of his hat too as well. I can remember those hats back then because I was just a kid trying to find jobs. I worked in factories. I had hard hats on, and I used to wear them myself, so I know what it was.
So do you think that could possibly be the guy that was hammering on the ground, making that noise?
You know what? I'm thinking that just might have been, because I'm looking at the concrete cement. It looked like it was poured twice, 2 loads of cement poured on it. First load was poured, it looked like it had cured. And then when they got ready to pour the second load, I believe that guy that was hammering on the concrete cement went around there and stuck his hat in there. I don't know if he put it in there for a reason to remember where they buried this guy at, or did he just, I don't know, maybe it was a trophy or something. I don't know. But I'm thinking if they can get that hard hat out of there, they can get some DNA and find out who he was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems to me like, I mean, it would be a good idea to throw evidence, into concrete, to get rid of the evidence. I'm not sure why he wouldn't have got it in there a little bit deeper, to where it wouldn't be found. But that's
Right.
interesting that right in the same spot that you're talking about,
Right.
there's a hard hat stuck in there, and you're saying there was a guy wearing a hard hat at the time Jimmy Hoffa was thrown in this hole. So that just it doesn't really it's just an interesting piece of information.
It is, and you got to remember that there's over 400,000 metric tons of concrete cement was poured in that building, and
Yeah,
he really wanted to seem like he wanted to remember the exact location because all
yeah,
five of those towers has two big pillars holding them up in the basement level,
yeah,
and that's a lot of concrete cement being poured, and each tower looks identical to the other tower, so he had to remember where this man was buried at. You know what I
yeah.
mean? That's why I
That's a
believe that
good
that
that's a
is
good
there.
point.
Yeah,
Just something there that you can identify that spot. um
right, right. He didn't want to forget. This is,
yeah,
I mean, this is a powerful man they buried, and he
right,
really wanted to remember this UAW union boss, especially being buried in a UAW building. You know, all these
right.
union workers and the union boss. It's like, wow, did the mob sit up and think this over before they buried him, or was it just a spur of the moment thing? I don't know. But it
Yeah.
just, and he's in the cornerstone of the building.
Mm.
That pillar that they put him in is in the southeast corner of Tower 300. Every building has a cornerstone. Church has a cornerstone.
Right. So just out of curiosity, how deep was the hole that they threw him down in at the time? Like how far did he fall down into this hole?
Well, when I looked down, I came down the next day. I looked in the other pillar, and you can still see the rebar down there. It's like pancake rebar. That pillar is about 8 feet deep. The tier, I mean.
Mm.
But it used to be a time you could go on the side of that pillar through a door, and there's stairs that go around the pillar, and you could see the proximity of how close you can get a drill in there and get to him. You don't have to drill horizontally down from the ground floor to get to him 8 feet. You can go right around that pillar if we can get in there and drill in about 3 or 4 feet, and you're gonna hit a bubble. You're gonna hit some remains. I'm confident of that. And when they pushed him in that hole, he must have hit the rebar, and that concrete cement must have just smashed him down on the rebar. So if they do the ground penetration radar, as long as the antennas are pointing up and it don't hit any rebar, they'll be able to detect the void. It's whatever's
Yeah.
in there. You know.
Yeah, I would think so. Um, now, one thing that I saw, a video that I saw that lends credibility to your story is back in the 80s, Jimmy Hoffa's driver came forward and talked about overhearing, I think it was Tony Giacalone referencing Jimmy Hoffa in that same building. Have you ever heard that before?
Mr. Hoffa is in the concrete, in the cornerstone of the Renaissance Center Hotel in Detroit, Michigan.
Marvin Elkin, yeah, me and Marvin, we talked several times over the phone, email before he
Yeah.
passed away. Marvin was right. It was a mad rush to pour concrete cement that day. He must have been in the building with the union at the time because I saw a mad rush to pour cement that day. But the only difference between Marvin's information and my information is that Marvin heard what Tony Giacalone said about say hello to Hoffa boys.
Yeah.
Marvin saw the area where it was smoothed off. He saw that because I saw that. But the only difference between me and Marvin is that I came to the authorities in 2002, like 9 years prior to him coming to the authorities in 2011, I believe it was. So, and the difference between me and Marvin is that he just only heard something. I saw and I heard too, so that's a big difference. And I'm pissed off with the media here in Detroit because none of them want to entertain my story, but they put Marvin on TV, interviewed him on Channel 4 and Channel 2. But when I call, they say, well, we can't interview you unless you have law enforcement backing. Now, what kind of stuff is that? Then they made me take a lie detector test, and then still decided not to put me on Channel 4, Steve Garagiola, but he had Marvin on his Hoffa podcast. I just don't get it, man. I just don't
Yeah.
get it. What are they trying to hide? You know, I know Steve Garagiola is Italian. You know, I know
Yeah.
Scott Bernstein is Jewish. You know, he's some religion. He's some relation to the Purple Gang. I don't know what's going on here, but I know they got a lot of control over the media, and they just throwing out theories, disinformation campaigns left and right. It said
Yeah.
it speaks nothing about my theory,
Yeah.
nothing about the you know,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
weird.
surprised. I'm surprised that they that they at least don't check it out, because they've done digs and different things all over the country, you know. So I'm
Well, they've done 9 digs in 50 years. And
mm,
each time, Jesse, they did a dig prior to, I called them every time, the FBI, and told them, I said, hey, you guys just wasting your time, energy, and resources. He's not there. Okay. And they go ahead and dig anyway. And now it's millions and millions of dollars they wasted.
yeah, just at least they would follow up on your story, just to, if nothing else, to exclude you from a possibility.
It's 23 years now. They told me I wasn't credible enough back 15 years ago. Now they're telling me that they need more additional information to add with my information, new information. If I don't have new information, don't come to them. I mean,
Mm,
what more new information can I have more than what has already happened? You know, so I came to him with new information. I came to him with a driver of Congressman John Dingell's driver. He called me on Facebook. He saw my story. He called me up down in Florida. He's from Detroit, but he called me from Florida. He said, "Hey, Mike, I'm John Dingell's, Congressman John Dingell's driver. John Dingell's one of the oldest sitting congressmen in Washington,
mhm.
and he worked with Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon had his hands in the Teamster cookie jar, pension fund. So he said, John Dingell told me in 1980 that Hoffa's buried under the Renaissance Center. I said, what? That's confirmation. Then you got Marvin Elkin. He's not confirming things that's saying that what Tony Jack alone told him. Say hello to Hoffa boys. And then you got another guy, his mother and father, who actually knew Chucky O'Brien. They almost got ran over when they come busting out of the Marcus Red Fox that day. Chucky almost ran into his mother and father, and they were staring at each other eye to eye. And they saw him holding something down on the floorboard, fighting with their knees up in their chest. And two guys with black suits on, just like I said. So and they saw him pull behind the Raleigh House, from the Bloomfield Township restaurant.
Yeah.
So with all these eyewitnesses, nobody's putting that out there on the mainstream media, but Fox Nation, Eric Schein. Eric Schein came down here and interviewed me. He interviewed David Tubman about his parents, what his parents saw. Because Tubman's father, he used to cater at Darby's. He used to seat the mobsters and stuff in Chucky O'Brien back in '68 before Darby's burned down. And he knew all the mob members and associates personally because he had to ask them what they wanted to eat. He had to go back and tell the chef how to cook their food and all that. So Mr. Tubman knew Chucky personally. He positively identified Chucky as the driver. But you got these experienced journalists, experts, crime experts saying, it wasn't Chucky O'Brien driving, it was Tony Palazzolo. And Tony Powell is the one who killed him and put him in a meat grinder and grind him up. Okay, well, you can't even grind human being bodies up in a meat grinder. It won't even grind up the bones or none of that. And he wasn't burnt up in no incinerator at this place in Hamtramck, because before it burnt down, they was trying to put an incinerator in there, but they hadn't put it in there yet. They was going to put it in there in 1976. Plus, the place was under FBI surveillance. So why would they take a body to Central Sanitation and burn him up? You can't burn something if it ain't nothing there to burn him up with.
Right.
And why don't you drive 800 miles from Detroit to Moscato's dump, put him in a 50-gallon drum, 55-gallon drum. Come to find out, those 55-gallon drums they thought that they found was some doggone truck tires and truck rims.
Is that the dump in New Jersey?
Yeah, that's the dump under the Pulaski Skyway, right?
Yeah.
The FBI found some big old truck rims. It looked like barrels with the ground penetration, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
barrels.
I don't think these guys would drive across the country or bring him across the country after they've taken him out. It seems like they would have had a place already set up. That's another thing that lends some credibility to your story is, you get this guy and go get him to this spot as quick as possible and dump the concrete.
Right. And that's what I talked to Michael Francis. I don't know if I told you. He told me that it's impossible. The mob wouldn't even think about driving no body that far across the country. They want to get rid of the body immediately. And Michael also told me that the reason why they didn't kill me, Thomas Andretta didn't kill me that day, was because if Thomas Andretta had killed me, he would have been killed himself by Fat Tony Salerno, who called the hit. The hit was on Hoffa. It wasn't on me. So if he had killed me, Fat Tony Salerno would have killed him. So they have to have orders from the boss to kill somebody.
Right.
Everybody's asking questions. Well, the mob wouldn't have let you get away. They'd have killed you and put you in the hole with Hoffa and all that. Well, that's not the way the mob operates. And the mob dresses in suits a lot of times. If you notice, they have suits on. The mob don't dress in suits. That's what these people are commenting and saying. And Al Capone had suit on. John Gotti had suits on. I mean, all of them got suits on. You know what I'm saying? That's the way they dress.
Right. Now, you just mentioned Fox News, and it's interesting because I just saw this morning on Fox that Jimmy Hoffa's son is calling on President Trump to release certain files that are pertaining to Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance. What do you think they're looking for in these files? What do you think just your opinion, what do you think they have in these files?
Well, I hope they have my information in there. It can bring some closure to the Hoffa family and the Yarbrough family. I hope they haven't been throwing my stuff in the trash for the last 23 years. They haven't came out publicly saying that my information is credible enough, and they haven't contacted me and told me that they were going to go in that building and do a search yet. Well, they won't tell you that anyway, but they're not telling Eric Shine nothing. They're not telling the History Channel nothing. They're not telling anybody anything as far as the Renaissance in this concern. But I'm hoping and praying that even if I'm not going to even depend on the FBI anymore, I'm going to try to find other agencies that might be willing to do it. I've already found 2 agencies that's willing to go in the building, contact Dan Gilbert, and we're gonna go in there. It's just a matter of time, but it's just so much crime going on in Detroit right now. To every time I try to schedule an appointment to go see somebody, they're swamped with these knuckleheads here, man, killing each other. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. It probably wouldn't be as big of a risk today, but years ago, you're coming out. If you're coming out with this information, you're at risk, with the mafia, and also, you're risking your reputation. Have you had any type of threats or anything throughout these years?
Yeah, I had one phone call threatening, but they didn't say who they were, but they're trying to get me to back down, I ain't worried about it, man. I got my AR, I got my CPL pistol, I got my shotgun, I got a bodyguards. Okay, I'm a bodyguard myself. I'm a trained bodyguard with the Vipers. I'm one-on-one Mantis, threat management. Commander Brown has taught me everything I know. I know how to break bones and kill people too. So and then I got a green belt in Taekwondo. I ain't worried about them. They can send anybody. They can send some kids at me. I'm watching my back every day. I got bodyguards watching my house, watching me every day. I ain't worried about it. And I got a big German Shepherd that's willing to bite.
Yeah, that'll slow them up for sure.
Sew him up. And she got a hell of a scent for sniffing out drugs and guns and everything.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, man, what are your plans, moving forward with your story and your, knowledge of this Jimmy Hoffa situation? It seems like there's got to be a way to check this spot in the Renaissance Center, to make a determination one way or the other. What do you have any plans moving forward?
Yeah, I got some serious plans moving forward, man. I got, like I said, 2 law enforcement agencies that has came forth and said they're going to back me. I got the 2 search crews that are very interested in going in there and doing the ground penetration and drill search. They are very interested. And, people in general here in Detroit want some closure, man. The families, the Hoffa family, Yarbrough family, we need closure, man. All these old ate up theories and stuff that's been going on for the last 50 years, everybody's tired of it, and then you got somebody that's sitting here that's seen it all. And you mean to tell me I'm being ignored? I mean, seriously? I mean, come on, if it was your father, and I was law enforcement doing the investigation, and you come to me and told me you heard everything and saw everything and was almost killed, you would be the first person information that I would take and investigate. I don't know what type of criminal justice background these people have, but I know in FBI and the universities in criminal justice, we do a lot of brainstorming together. It'd be like 4 or 5 of us putting our brain together, and we come up with a workable hypothesis.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing down there at the FBI here, man. It must be eating donuts and putting their finger in the middle of the donut and digging up their ass. I don't know. You might want to bleep that out.
Yeah. I meant to ask you a minute ago though. Have you had any communications with the Hoffa family? Have you been able to talk to them?
I called Barbara Crancer when she was a judge down in I think it's Arkansas or Alabama somewhere. And I've been writing Hoffa Jr. when he was in office as union president. And the first thing they tell me is the FBI said, if anybody contact us about Hoffa, our father, send them to us. So, I mean, that us is the FBI Detroit, and they're the only FBI that's on the Hoffa case.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. I mean, why are they the only ones investigating the case?
Yeah.
That's like a cover up to me.
Well, that almost makes me think that, there's something to it, because I mean, you've got just as much credibility as any of these other theories, that they've checked out, they've dug, they've spent all this money. At the very least, they could check your story out just to cross it off the list. But the fact that they haven't done that makes me think that they believe there's something there.
It make you wonder, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
And guess what? There is something there. And if you don't think it's Jimmy Hoffa, guess what? There's somebody there.
Yeah, somebody. If what you're saying is right, somebody went down in that hole.
Oh, well, I'm 100% sure who it is.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
That's what they're afraid of. That they know that they know I know what I know, and they don't want to go in there because they know I know what I know.
Yeah. If
it wasn't him, they probably would have hurried up and went in there and dug. But it's him.
There are plans to tear these buildings down. What's the update with that? I mean, is that still going to happen?
Yeah, I talked to law enforcement about that. They said it might not happen by the end of this year, but it's going to happen sometime next year or somewhere around there. So I got plenty of time to get with law enforcement and get in there to do what we got to do before they destroy all the evidence, Because when they tear it down, they're going all the way down to the basement level. All those pillars are coming out,
Yeah. Well, Michael, I wish you luck moving forward with all this. Maybe you'll get some traction as far as going in there and checking this spot out. And also, man, I appreciate you coming on the channel and talking with me.
Well, anytime, man. If anything else develops, I'll give you a call and let you know how far we're going on it.
Yeah, definitely keep me updated. Yeah. Keep us updated if there's any new news about this.
Yeah, how far are you away from Detroit?
Oh, I'm on the East Coast, man.
Oh, okay, you on the East Coast?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Be nice if you could be here when we dig him out. Huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, something like that, man. Yeah, I would definitely try to get out there for something like that for sure.
Oh, I know. And it's coming up pretty soon, so keep your ears and eyes open.
All
I'm
right,
not gonna
man.
stop until we find him, okay?
All right, man. Well, again, I appreciate it. Everyone that's watching this video, I appreciate you watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and keep following American Made. I appreciate it.
Jimmy's gone into